Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Wind Down, which is at 7-ish every Thursday. I am not counting this as late. I'm technically on time. And I'm drinking Snoop Dogg's Cali Red. This is one, if not like the only red wine I actually like. I've been trying to drink more red wine because there's less sugar and because I need to get my panorama pounds off. So here's the Snoop Dogg and his red wine. How are all of you doing? Right? 703 is like pretty good for me, right, Jonathan? Okay. I think we should count this as a win. Robert, how are you? You never make the live. I'm so excited you're here. All right. I said this last week or the week before. It is fall. Fall in New York now. It is winter. It is cold. I'm like very much like seasonal depression. Like I do not like the cold. So I'm trying to like get over it and stop being a grumpy cat. Cause that's where I'm at right now. Hey, new Nubian. But yeah, after this, like I'm probably going to bed. I think yesterday I went to bed at like 8:30, which is wild. I go to bed like usually like pretty late. Oh, thank you, Powered Not All. She's cooperating today, so like that's good. Hi, L Summers. I wanted to ask you guys. Hi, Lakeisha. Yes, shout out to the Bronx. Hey, Cadence. The cold is just not for me. It doesn't sit well with me. But I wanted to ask y'all before like we get into it. We are finally, I think this is video number 5 we've done on Britney Spears. And for context, we have been covering the Britney Spears conservatorship case since last year, since 2020, since like before they did the documentary. So I'm finally glad we can celebrate the good news that it's done. Listen, Opulus Pride, I'm glad that y'all understand. Like I'm such a grumpy winter person. But I'm glad we can celebrate this. Oh, and that's what I wanted to ask. So yesterday we did our first premiere, which I've never used that feature. I actually really liked it a lot. So it's basically me. I could set the videos to premiere and then we can like live chat. So like when they come out. So next time I'll give y'all ample time. YouTube was like being super weird. I uploaded that video way earlier in the day and it just kept like running the check, which I was surprised that it let me do it because there was a lot of references to other videos for Firefest in there so that way you could see everything. But it said it was fine. So we'll see. They might copyright strike me later. Hopefully not. Knock on this fake wood that is this desk. So yeah. So let me know, how did y'all feel about running the premiere? I thought it was fun. Like I feel like it was an interactive. And shout out to Grace from Grace Report for doing that collab with me. She's great. If y'all are interested in reality TV stuff, that's what she does, which is pretty cool. So awesome. So let me know if you like the premiere setting. If you don't like the premiere setting, maybe we could do a couple more. I feel like premiere is built for timely people, which we have assessed I am not. But I could get there sometimes, every once in a while, like today. So let's hop into it. So our agenda for today is the great news. Last Friday, Judge Penny finally terminated Britney Spears' conservatorship after 13 and a half, actually almost 14 long years, which is crazy. And then we are going to go through the potential charges that Jamie et al. Should be receiving. Both. Thank you, Robert. You're so kind. Listen, if you send money to me, it will go towards my student loans, which will free me from my oppressor. So thank you. Hi, Brittany. I'm happy you're here. So yeah, we're going to talk about Jamie and the potential charges he may face. And because I think at the very least, she's going to sue him. But at the very most, which I think should definitely happen, should be some criminal charges. We're going to go through that. And we're going to talk about disability rights or the lack thereof, because her case brought to the forefront a lot of issues with disability rights and ableism and things of that nature. So now that we have the public's attention with Britney's case, I really hope people keep that momentum. So yes, free me from these student loans, child. I'm so Speaking of student loans, that video was late. It's gotten to the point where I said this in the last student loan video. So every month I do my student loan update of how much I've paid off of my $304,000 student loans. In 19 months, I've paid 100 grand. So right now, I think I owe like 206, something like that. Which, yes, those numbers aren't right because more interest got tacked on. Thank you so much. Is it Darius? Darius, let me know which one it was, one or two. I'm going to make sure I say it right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. It was so kind of you. And yes, your donations here go towards a good place. So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So my student loan video is late because I realized my last student loan video was for my $100,000 payoff video. I think the more money I give them, the more irritated I'm becoming in that I want to like block it out of my mind. Like, I didn't know it was possible that I could ever manage $100,000. And I'm like, now I have managed it and given it away. 40 grand of that money, by the way, was an interest. So let's go with that. But it's not about me. It's about Britney. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about her celebration. I'm so happy for her. All right. So goodbye. Good riddance to her conservatorship. It is done. And I think what is so crazy about her story is A, that this was allowed to happen, B, that this happened in the public for almost, we might as well just say 14 years and round up. It happened January of, y'all know, what was it, 2009? I'm like, what year are we in right now? I think it's like 2007, 2008. And it has been going on for so long, and for so long she suffered in silence. So shout out to her. So nice that she is finally able to get her life back, the life that she should have had all these years, the hundreds of millions of dollars that her family has done who knows what with said money. It's awful. Also, shout out to the Free Britney movement. When we first covered this in October, I think, of 2020, it's linked in the description box if you want to watch the old videos. Is before it was getting all the hype. And that was the first time as a lawyer, to be honest, I had heard the word conservatorship. I'd never heard that word before. You don't learn about that. Conservatorship is, I would say, like family law adjacent, but technically conservatorships are in probate court. So it's completely separate. It's an area of law that no one talks about because technically it should only affect a small demographic of people, because people that are incentivized to be conservators are people that are incentivized, A, like, oh, this is my family member, they're not doing well, I want to help them. Or B, yeah, maybe it's my family member, but they have some cash. And so it only affects usually people with money, higher net worth. We talked about the woman last time. Her last name is Nichols. I can't remember her first name right now. Is it Nichelle? From Star Trek. We talked about her conservatorship, which has been going on. And to be honest, it is the removal of someone's rights. But the trade-off is supposed to be that the person who's removing their rights is supposed to have their best interest and take care of them. That did not happen for Britney Spears. That does not happen for most conservatees. And it is utterly disgusting. And what my biggest hope as a lawyer is, now that it's in public eye, the public keeps pushing this issue until they rewrite. Some of these laws are 50, 60, 70 years old. We are in 2021. I had to think about that. It is time that we update these things. Someone should not be in a conservatorship for almost 14 years without it being reviewed, without someone even asking, who the hell is Jamie Spears, to tell somebody else, yeah, of course, I'm capable. I can do all these things. Where? Shouldn't you attend a class? Shouldn't you attend some training before you just go take over another person's life? Flabbergasting. Yes, so hold on. All right, no running. It's also like hot and cold in my apartment. It's a lot going on. If you live in New York or anywhere up north, you know that when winter/fall comes, your heat plays a game. It starts rattling and gets super loud, and then all of a sudden it's on, and then it thinks it's too hot, so then it cuts off for like 2 days. Yeah, New York housing is great. It's not cheap, but it's great. So yes, so I feel like we the people freed Britney. Yes, it's true, because the lawyers failed her. It is a truth. Besides this new lawyer, great. He stepped in and said, all this is cockamamie nonsense, and let's move forward. Failed her. That judge for years, yes, Judge Penny finally terminated Britney Spears' conservatorship, but for years, she's had multiple judges on her case. Multiple judges have allowed this to happen. So yes, I'm glad that, yes, they're finally doing the right thing, but this has been going on for a long time. Lydia, thank you for pausing Tiger King 2, which brings up a side tangential point. I guess Carol Baskin and her temporary restraining order against Netflix was denied if we're watching it. So I was going to follow up on that, but that answered my question. I need to go read that as well. All right. So type effectiveness. Did you see Britney's IG post saying that her mother suggested this mayhem? Yes, which I find so wild but believable. A lot of stage moms, stage parents are awful people. They're awful people. I think we talked about that. I think I talked about that like in the first Britney video. If you watch the first one, there's a large section given to like child actors and like the laws and the lack of laws. Actually, Grace and I, because a lot of Grace, who runs Grace Report, that I did the collab with yesterday, I'll link the video here if you guys are interested. But we did a video collab like a couple weeks ago because she covers Teen Mom too, about whether or not the kids can eventually sue their parents for being put on television, having their private business put on television. Like, they can't enter into contracts. They're 5, 10, 15. Some of them are teenagers now. These kids, they've grown up. And because in different countries, you can sue your parents for posting your picture online if you don't want it. So we talked about child rights, specifically about child actors, and it was like very interesting. And it's also very sad, the lack of laws to protect child actors. So I'll link that below if any of y'all are interested in watching that. But there was some like good research and like information I put in there. Thank you, Golden Barbie. I appreciate you. So Britney is freed, finally, which is the great part. Now let's get into the nitty gritty, the needed part, the necessary. To type effectiveness point, she needs to sue her family, hold their feet to the fire. She needs to sue them, and then she needs to press some charges. And I think she deleted the post, but she did have an Instagram post where she said that she would love to see her father in jail. And I'm like, of course. So I went and did some thinking as to what are some of the charges that maybe she can, if she were to press charges against Jamie specifically. The lawsuits, I think it will be her whole family, and specifically kidnapping. Kidnapping, under the definition, is if you just move somebody somewhere against their will, you have kidnapped them. If I live in this apartment in Brooklyn and you move me from said apartment to the subway and I did not want to go, you have kidnapped me. It doesn't matter how far you take somebody. So yes, human trafficking, which we're going to get into specifically to the California Penal Code, specifically on what is the definition of human trafficking. We're going to get into in a second. Technically, forced labor falls under human trafficking. She had said numerous times he forced her to perform. I took a Bugs Bunny in there to lighten the mood, but Jamie Spears is an awful person. Like, is an awful, awful person. And wire fraud, last but not least. So I think it's the first or second video we covered for Britney Spears. One of the old documents that I found in her conservatorship case. What was very strange about her case from the beginning when I started doing the research is a lot of the case he had filed to remove documents from the court case from public record. He wanted them removed for her privacy. He didn't want people to see. That's not why he had them removed. He didn't want people to see what he was doing. Let's be honest. That's what it was giving off. So he had them removed, which was weird. But then there was an Instagram, which I don't know if they ever got their Instagram back. It was called Lawyers for Britney, I think, was the Instagram. And it was this group of anonymous lawyers that were looking into her case and then basically were pulling all of the court documents, publishing them. And basically Jamie would remove them and they would publish them, and they were like playing cat and mouse till essentially I think Jamie and his team had the Instagram shut down. So in one of these court documents, he had invested, I believe it was like between $5 and $10 million of her money into some very like random thing. Mind you, this is not a man with any investment background. This is not a man with any banking background. This is not a man with any finance background. Or in the words of the bougie people I work with, finance. This is not a man with any type of background to these things. Took the money and said, oh, I know better. I'm going to do what I want to do. So yes, which, if you take someone's money, as we talked about yesterday with Fire Festival, Billy McFarland is in jail for 6 years for wire fraud. It all counts as wire fraud. When you take people's money and you wire it somewhere else, it's wire fraud. So yes, I think he could definitely get charged with wire fraud. I think that would definitely be the count that sticks, to be honest. Out of everything else, I think the wire fraud count would be so easy to prove. Because with kidnapping, with human trafficking, he's going to say, oh, she consented. Oh, she's unwell. She doesn't know what she's saying. The wire fraud is simply, you took my money and did well with my money. So with the human trafficking, I just wanted, let me make me small. So In terms of California Penal Code, which Britney Spears lives in California, the crime of human trafficking in California is defined as number one, depriving someone of their personal liberty with the intent to obtain forced labor or services from them. And then everything is or, so you don't have to prove all these things. Number two, depriving someone of their personal liberty with the intent to violate California's pimping and pandering laws. I won't read the whole thing because I think if I read the whole thing, it'll probably dox me. Or that's not the word. It'll probably demonetize me. Or three, persuading or trying to persuade a minor, and she's not a minor. Okay. She definitely falls under number one, depriving someone of their personal liberty with the intent to obtain forced labor or services from them. How many videos does she have on her Instagram? I think she deleted some of them, but she has said clearly, oh, he made me perform here, made me do these things. I did not want to do them. I said, I just want to go to sleep. I said, I just want to be left alone. There is an entire video of her in Vegas where they're trying to kick off her residency that she does not want to do, where she just walks off the stage. You just see her walking, like, you know what? I've had enough of this. Like, what's going to happen if I just walk away? If I just keep walking, like, what are they going to chase me down? And you see a bunch of fans and people, because people at that point were not aware of what's happening. So they're cheering and they're just like watching her, like, oh, girl, the stage is there. And she's just like, I'm done with it. So, yes. Whether or not a district attorney is bold enough to allege this charge is a different thing. However, she does fall under that. It's clearly forced labor. It's clearly someone who, for 14 years, just wanted proper treatment. She probably had postpartum, which I've said this before. This was after she had her second child. Is when like this occurred, who just needed like proper care and who clearly someone in her family, all of them, decided, oh, it's a great time, let's go ahead and control the situation. All right. Laundering, yeah. I think the definition of laundering is a little bit more specific, which is why maybe they can't charge him with that. Like I was looking to it, laundering is a little bit like you're washing dirty money. And I only like know these terms from watching Ozarks, like let's be honest. But they literally charge people with wire fraud for anything. They're like, you do something wrong with money, somebody's money, they just charge you with wire fraud. Because it's easier, it's lower, there are less prongs to prove. Okay, so let's get into the family because the entire family needs to get sued. Her sister, her mother, her brother. If she were to sue them, which this is less an if and more like a when, she's going to sue them. Her new attorney seems to be very much on his stuff. He has already seemingly started this process. It has definitely happened. So potential lawsuit claims, false imprisonment. So for every criminal claim, sorry, there is a civil right of action. So criminal court, fines, jail time. Civil court is just fines and then money restitution. That's what happens to you in civil court. For every criminal act, there is a civil act. So you can always do both. So most notably, for example, O.J. Simpson was charged and acquitted with criminal murder of his wife and the wife's boyfriend. However, in civil court, he was found liable for her murder and was supposed to pay the family restitution for that. Okay. So, potential lawsuit claims, false imprisonment. This is the civil right of action that marries kidnapping. It's the same thing. So, if you get convicted, you don't have to get convicted to prove false imprisonment. So, I think she could definitely file in a civil lawsuit against, I don't know if it would be her entire family, but definitely at least Jamie for false imprisonment. She has numerous testimonies specifically of, oh, wait, I was in this, of her unfortunately being sent to doctors she didn't want to see, of her being sent to these doctors, not being allowed to leave the room, etc. To which Jamie just tried to deny it and be like, oh, she's misremembering, which is a crock of nonsense. Fraud. Obviously, fraud is very much apparent. Breach of contract. A conservatorship is, there are contracts in place. Her conservatorship stipulated, hey, you cannot have a cell phone, you cannot have an email, you cannot have these things. One of the main tenets of a conservatorship is the conservator is supposed to look out for the best interest of the conservatee. Clearly, that has not happened. That has not happened. And then lastly, conversion. Conversion is stealing. Conversion is the civil right of action for stealing, for larceny, for thief in people's money. So yes. So I think she will definitely sue Jamie, the dad, maybe the sister. I'm it seems that which the sister's name is also Jamie, which is confusing. It seems that Jamie has wronged her as well. It seems that Jamie has wronged her as well. All right. So let me look at some of these questions. I see you guys are asking questions. And let's see. Okay. Wire fraud and tax evasion, the OG last resorts. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure those taxes are probably not correct. We're gonna talk about that in a second. Type effectiveness about that. Hi, Windfire. How are you? Okay, so to Yakub's point, what about the illegal listening devices planted in her room? Will her family be held accountable for that or the managers? So in the lawsuit, you can sue anybody. I would assume that she would sue her family because part of this is ill-gotten gains. So her family is living this life. What is Jamie's profession besides conservator? Nothing. How did Jamie get this money? He didn't. It's his daughter's money. So I'm assuming that she's most likely going to sue everybody involved, but most specifically Jamie because Jamie's money is her money. It's not Jamie's money really. She has been paying him this whole time to be her conservator, which is awful. Like the level of awfulness in this is wild to me. Wild. To Optimus Prime's question. Opulence Prime, Optimus Prime, Lord. I haven't watched that movie in so long. What was the reason the conservatorship was granted to begin with? In the original filings, Jamie claimed, yes, you're going to be like, what? Jamie claimed in the original filings that Britney Spears had dementia. Britney Spears does not have any signs of dementia. But that's what he claimed. He had a doctor claim that she had dementia. So she was put under this conservatorship. She most likely was suffering a temporary break due to having postpartum, which is absolutely normal, which happens to many people, which all she needed was proper care and proper therapy and proper doctors in place, not all this nonsense. To Mocha Deluxe's point, Jamie tried to play. So Jamie, the sister, them having the same name is always like, what? Jamie definitely tried to play the concerned sister card, and Brittany said, nope, I'm dragging you too, sis. I mean, that little show she's on from Nickelodeon is, I highly doubt, is still paying her bills. Like, girl, there's not enough reruns of your little show that nobody remembers. I don't even know what the name is. So there's that. Okay. So let's go to the next part. So one of the things I wanted to cover, which I've been seeing people cover a little bit, which is good. And so to type effectiveness, to your point about the IUD, let me make myself small so y'all can see this. Britney Spears and conservatorship in general, but specifically her case, I would say, intersected right smack dab in the middle of disability rights or the lack thereof of disability rights in this country. So America is very much of the productivity, capitalism variety. Your worth in America is very much tied to how much labor you can produce. If you are a disabled person, unfortunately in America, lots of Americans will treat you a certain way because they feel like, oh, I can't get anything out of this. Like, what is going to happen? Which is very, very much apparent in the lack of laws for disabled people. So, Britney Spears, in her, I would say, like, no, it's not a speech, but during one of her hearings, when she finally was allowed to speak and to state her piece to Judge Penny, she said, and quote, I have an IUD inside of myself right now, so I don't get pregnant. Spears said at the June 2021 hearing. And this article is from the ACLU, so I will link this article as well. It's a great read on disability rights. I wanted to take the IUD out so I could start trying to have another baby. For you, those of you that are not familiar, an IUD is birth control. So I could not have another baby. So this so-called team won't let me go to the doctor. Won't let me go to the doctor first and foremost. Actually, I'm in the way. Hold on. to take it out because they don't want me to have children. So basically, this conservatorship is doing me way more harm than good. I deserve to have a life, which she does deserve to have a life. Y'all know I cannot see this. Hold on. So, and then from the article, just for context, force, and so you see how the law, many of the laws in this country are very outdated, specifically this one. Forced sterilization for women with disabilities is technically legal in the United States. Yes, again, forced sterilization in the United States for disabled women is technically legal. In 1927, Buck v. Bell case, this is a 1927 case. This is almost 100 years old. This case is still good law, is what they call good law, as in laws that have case law that has not been overturned. The Supreme Court ruled that a state statute allowing compulsory sterilization of people with disabilities did not violate the 14th Amendment as long as it was for the protection and health of the state. This is the country we live in. This is the country we live in, where a case from 1927 is still being enacted on people today. Now, we have come so far with medical technology. We have come so far in acceptance, understanding, and also like championing disabled people, but we have fallen completely short in many areas. This is one of those areas. If people want to have their own life, it is their right to what is in the Constitution: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, to do what they want to do. You ain't paying for people's kids. What does it matter? But according to the law that is still there, and to Kiki's point, it's low-key eugenics, absolutely terrible. It is eugenics. America is very much built on, if you are not in hyperproductive shape to do all these awful things and work 60 hours a week, don't want it. Why? Go over there. Half the time, this bag under my eye is there because I don't sleep. Because people continue to just work themselves into nonsense at what we have already defined before as half of these jobs are bullshit jobs, but we won't get back into that. All right, so to Robert's point, woe at our reproductive oppression, exactly. And to Blue Quartz, yes, eugenics, yes. All right. Okay, so let's go to the next one. All right, so this is from a different article from the ACLU. I'm going to link all of them. There's like 3. So ACLU, Disability Rights Orgs, filed an amicus brief in Britney Spears case. So the ACLU, which is the American Civil Liberties Union, I always be at these acronyms. That's what it is. Filed an amicus brief to the court, basically on behalf of Britney Spears, saying like, hey, not only is this conservatorship case, this is a disability rights case. The ACLU fights for disabled people. They fight for equality for everyone. They fight for Black, Brown, Asian, Latina, Latinx, Hispanic. I'm going to say all the things because we have talked about before. Y'all are deciding name and that's fine. Asian. They fight for everybody's rights. So, of course, they filed a brief for Britney Spears. I think this is important to show how widespread and how far-reaching her case actually is. This is not just one family preying on one very rich person. This has ramifications for other people. And I think on our channel we've been pretty good, but I've seen other Black creators cover Britney Spears' case, and I've seen some of them rightfully and shockingly say like some of their audience was mad about it, like, oh, we have other things to talk about, like blah blah blah. If you think that people are going to treat a rich, pretty, popular, nice, lovely white woman that way, how do you think they're going to treat the rest of us? Awful, 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 and worse. So it should matter to everyone. Also, like, we're the same age demographic. Britney Spears is somebody we've grown up with. Like, most of us feel bad and should feel bad for her. If people are doing this in broad daylight to a rich white woman, obviously they are doing this in the shadows to Black and brown people because no one is caring. If nobody cared all these years, like, let's call a spade a spade. Sorry, it's like now it's cold in here. This freaking heater. If nobody cared all these years, like let's be honest, For many years, Britney Spears had her, I think it was actually 2009, because I remember that was my freshman year of college. And I remember like, actually, this is to show you how awful people can be. I remember, to be honest, people had put posters, not posters, but like pictures on their dorms, pictures of when Britney Spears shaved her head on their dorms, being like, oh, if Britney Spears can survive this, I can survive first semester. But people just made light of it at that time. People were just like, oh, whatever, it's fine. 14 years later, everyone has realized, like, oh, society, American society, paparazzi have driven her to an awful place. People, society at large, we have stood by and watched. And yes, now Free Britney movement, other people, everyone is realizing, oh, we should say something. Great. I'm glad we're saying something. Use that energy and continue to say something, because to the ACLU's point, Britney Spears having to Britney Spears in broad daylight is happening to other people. It's happening to other people that people don't know their name. I think her name is Nichelle Nichols of Star Trek. She's the first Black woman on Star Trek. I feel like her name is Nichelle. If I'm wrong, y'all will let me know, and that's good. She's the first Black woman to ever be on Star Trek, is currently going through a conservatorship issue right now, where she has said numerous times, hey, she's in her 70s, hey, I just want to be in like my house that I could afford in California. I've paid it off. I have my nice little yard. I'm doing well. And her son is like, she's unwell. I want to take care of my mom. Has moved her to where he lives. I believe he lives in Arizona. Her best friend and her manager are like, no, she said she wants to be in her house. Put her back in her house. They're fighting about it. Obviously, I think they all care about her. But at the end of the day, who is there to champion what the person wants? If someone is not going to harm anybody, and they, like maybe they're not well all the time, maybe you can hire them and aid, etc. That doesn't mean you get to control their life and say like, oh, you have to be right here. I want to see what you're doing at all times. I'm going to put an IUD in you. You can't have kids. You can't do any of these things. It's completely ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. And then to Opulus Pride's point, people are oblivious to mental illness and write everyone off as crazy. Exactly. There are people, you can have mental illness and be disabled and be a functioning, highly functioning member of society. You can contribute to society. You can, it's called invisible disabilities. So for those of you, I think most of you know, but for those you don't know, I do like DE&I consulting on the side. And one of the things that Nichelle Nicholas, okay, thank you, Jose. One of the things that I really enjoyed that I've learned that I didn't know a lot about was there is a whole branch of DE&I dedicated to people with invisible disabilities. So like if you have an invisible disability, so say, for example, you suffer from crippling anxiety, but you're really good at your job, but you're like, listen, after like in the morning, like it's very hard for me, like I can't do this right now. You can get accommodations. There are laws in place, but a lot of workplaces and employers discriminate against disabled people. They discriminate against people that are different, that are mentally disabled. They'll start poking around, asking you questions, but you rightfully are allowed to ask for accommodation. You're rightfully allowed to say like, hey, I can do this job. You have to give me, it's called an accommodation legally. You have to give me an accommodation. Listen, I'll work from 12 to 9, whatever. That math is not right. That math is right if you pushed it back. I'm great from 12 to 9, but like this 8 a.m. meeting, I cannot do it. At 8 a.m., my brain is not functioning that way. They have to do it. But what I appreciate about the ACLU tries to push all those issues forward so people see that. Because if not, you suffer in silence, which Britney Spears for years sadly had to suffer in silence. So there is that. So to Elle Summers' point, basically America treats disabled people and people with mental illness the way China treats its citizens. Oh, wait. All right. Okay, so hold on, I'm going to read some of these. To Robert's point, I think Whitney and Britney have a lot in common. Oh, Whitney is my favorite. I miss Whitney every day. Whitney is like the one celebrity that I would have probably actually like been excited to see. Would have been Whitney Houston. And to Dare's point, we low-key do this to Britney with our obsession with celebrity culture. It is true. It is everyone's fault. And I'm glad that people are trying to rectify it now. And there's always one person being like, it wasn't me. Like, okay, whatever. It's society's fault as to how we got here. And the great quote that lives on, an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Yes. Exactly. All right. I'm gonna read through some of the comments. We're gonna get to the next part. So let me just go all the way up. Okay. Robert's point. I love the ACLU and the Southern Poverty Law Center. Yes. If you ever want to donate money to organizations that actually do good in the world and actually don't, not like the Red Cross that built allegedly 6 houses in Haiti with billions of dollars. Side eye to them. If you actually want to donate your money, the ACLU and the Southern Poverty Law Center do great work. They do great work in trying to make this experiment of America as equal, more fair, and they fight for everybody. So I would say as equal as possible, but like they alone cannot fix this mess, but they do a damn good job. All right. Okay, so Sabrina's Roberts' point. Now that Brittany won her case, how about others with disabilities? Other people don't have the support and wealth that she has. Exactly. So the way, in my opinion, to move forward to help like voiceless people without a voice, is for the Free Britney movement and for all of us regular people to move forward with getting this case law overturned. So, for example, that case that was, hold on, let's go backwards. Buck v. Bell, which is from 1927. 1927. Case law gets overturned, gets updated when new cases come and say, hey, that law is bad. Like, that's bad law now. Like, if you search through LexisNexis, English is great today. You'll see like things that are cited still as good law, things that are bad law, which means like, okay, it's not valid anymore. Like, for example, Dred v. Scott. I'm saying this wrong. Yeah, the Dred v. Scott case is not valid anymore. We're a whole person now. Okay, so the way for it to move forward is to get these laws invalidated and to get these cases overturned and to get new cases, which the ACLU sues all the time. They're very good for this. All right. Hi, Perdita. So the Drake and Astroworld stuff is all in that Astroworld video in the beginning. All right. So let me see. He's gonna get dropped from that lawsuit, in my opinion. But like, if you watch the Astroworld video I did, it's like in the beginning of that. All right. Oh wait, hold on, I scrolled too fast. Yes, RIP to Whitney. Such a lovely soul. To Blue Quartz Mark. I do enjoy the dragging of Justin Timberlake. That was good and needed. The fact that this man exposed Janet Jackson and acted like he didn't know for all these years and then gave a raggedy apology. Justin Timberlake is low-key the villain that has gotten away with a lot of things. And he never really apologizes, and he's like, oh, oh no, guys, I've grown and I've learned, and now I'm making like different style of music. I'm not wearing braids anymore. Like, okay, Justin. Thank you, Cadence. And to A Black Age's point, I'm concerned that the world will move on from caring about the conservatorship issue now that Britney is free, because I know how people are. LOL. Hopefully, Britney is at least going to stick to her word. I think she will. I mean, 14 years of your life, like her kids. I think one of the saddest parts about this, and I think this is just a guess, as somebody who has a lot of siblings, I'm the oldest of 7. It would be so sad to blink and realize your siblings, your children, I can imagine must be worse. All of a sudden, 14 years of their life, just you didn't get to participate in a lot of it because Kevin Federline got full custody of her kids. So she gets to see them sometimes, but she has not been the primary parent. Which how awful is that? How sad is that? She even said in certain court documents that her father would use her children to incentivize her to do things like, okay, you do this, see the kids. That is disgusting. Disgusting behavior. So I think part of the reason why she wants to have more children is like, hey, I got robbed of this experience. I would like to try this, which is just very heartbreaking. They really should throw Jamie Spears under the jail, to be honest. To be honest. Kevin is a user too. Yeah, I don't know. He's not giving me Father of the Year vibes, but hey. All right. Okay, so let's see. I think I had like one more. Okay, cool. So this is from Los Angeles Times. This is the third article. I'm going to link for y'all. So in the Spears case, says disability justice advocate Smith is inextricably tied to a culture of ableism that has been used to justify the confinement and abuse of people living with mental illness and disabilities. The Americans with Disabilities Act passed in 1990. 1990 is when? 31 years ago. Like, again, these things need some updates. And there's this pervasive attitude that we don't deserve civil rights, Smith says. Oops, sorry. It doesn't help when people argue Britney's not crazy, she's not disabled. Whether we think so or not, the court decided that she is. Mind you, yes, this is a good point, actually. The court decided that she has dementia. She does not have dementia, but that's what the court decided. So there are countless mentally ill people who work and have families in this country. How do we protect them? Which is the question. This is the question that I hope we all can move forward. And I think Britney Spears is going to be a catalyst and has been a catalyst for bringing these to the forefront. So, like, how do we continue the momentum of, okay, so we see that this is an issue. There are millions of people affected. There are 300-ish million people in America. So there are millions of disabled and mentally ill and people living with mental illness. How do you protect those people? How do you advocate for these people? Also, like, part of it is removing the stigma around having a disability, invisible disability. Some of your coworkers most likely have invisible disabilities, but if you use certain verbiage around them, they're not going to feel comfortable. They probably think, oh, so and so is a jackass. Like, nope, not going to tell them that I have crippling depression and that's why I miss the happy hour, because now they're bothering me about it. And they're saying, oh, you don't want to come to the happy hour? You're too cool for the happy hour? Like, no, maybe I have depression. Or no, maybe I have anxiety. No, maybe I'm bipolar and I was manic. Like, you want my manic self to be bothered in your face? You never know. So I think removing the stigma, part of it has to do with assessing your own biases, which this is half of what like my D&I work is letting people know, like, hey, sometimes we're the problem. Sometimes we are the problem. We are the problem. So sometimes people don't want to see that they're the problem. But yes, not to end it on a sour note, but I think that this can be positive and can move forward. She's never going to get her 14 years of life back. So with that being said, I hope that she files charges against Jamie and they throw his ass under the jail. I really do hope so. And I think that certain charges will stick. I think the wire fraud charge is an easy one to stick. If he even gets a good 3 years in his big age in the jail, I think that's a little bit of justice. A good 3 years will do him some good, I think, to be honest. And I rarely, actually never, try to push for incarceration. But he could go there. He could really go there. Enough of him. Enough of him. And not never. Certain people, abusers all belong under the jail. People that harm children, in my opinion, belong under the jail. Jamie is a harmful person, in my opinion, belongs under the jail. All right. Okay, so let's see. So to AJ's point, I'm rooting for Britney. She will have the biggest comeback we will see. You know what, to be honest, I hope rest for her. Like 14 years of people controlling you. I hope she gets to rest. I saw she posted the other day that she was excited to buy candles, which I thought was so sweet. Like, I hope she gets to do what she wants to do. I hope she gets to drive to the store and nobody's bothering her. People have learned their lesson and don't like paparazzi take picture of her all day. Leave her be. If she wants to perform, that would be great. I will buy some tickets. But if she doesn't want to, I think that's totally fine. And to Robert's point, just think about all the stuff we don't know about her daddy. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. F that man. F that man. Dana Marie's for oldest is 7. That's a lot of pressure. Oh my God, the worst. Being the oldest is like it's a job like you don't ask for. It's such a job. Such a job. Okay. All right, y'all. So I think that was like the end of my sides. Yeah. Oh, here we go. To the drink. Let me move it before I leave that on there. But yes, things coming up. So I was thinking, because I know I said, oh, I'm gonna film the Kyle Rittenhouse video and I'm gonna upload it and I'll just block all the trolls. I'm gonna be honest. the way the fall winter is hitting, if I film that video and the trolls will come out because they will, because they don't have good sense. Um, I feel like it will just ruin my mood for no reason. So maybe I'll do it. I think instead I might film, or maybe we'll talk about like sandwiched into another like live, a video which I think is equally interesting and equally problematic of racist judges. Yes, because that judge in the Kyle Rittenhouse video is very much giving white robe under his robe, if you see what I'm saying. Is very much giving when he said yesterday there was a black, one black, the black, in referring to a black person on the jury. Yeah. Yeah. So I think maybe we'll do that because there are a lot of racist judges. And judges, if you are a federal judge, you sit there for life. They don't get fired. They just sit on their bench and go around messing up people's lives. So I think maybe we'll touch on that. Kyle Rittenhouse, is that his last name? Rittenhouse, whatever. I'm not going to be surprised if he walks, but I'm also going to be mad. But I won't be surprised at this point. The defense has set it up this whole time, and I'm just like, wow, y'all really going to let. It's interesting to see that white supremacy doesn't value white lives because he killed two young white men, which is sad. White supremacy does not value white lives if it's at the expense of white freedom to kill people, which is wild to me. It's very wild. Wow. So, yes, it's very much giving Grand Wizard to me. To me. But that's just my opinion. But yes, so we'll see. It's gonna be sad. Between that and the Ahmaud Arbery case, I'm just like, look at America, just doing the wrong thing per usual. Per usual. But something exciting, and exciting. Exciting to me because sometimes I don't mind raising the troll's blood pressure. Colonizer Exposed, my Patreon series. My lovely patrons, shout out to y'all. Thank you, Robert. Robert is a patron. Thank you, Robert. Encouraged me to put Colonizer Exposed on YouTube. So it's in a set of series. So because if we're going to do this, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put, America has 2 episodes, has 2 parts. So I'm going to put Colonizer Exposed USA on YouTube on Thanksgiving, so that way, the Trolls Thanksgiving is very seasoned with spice, history, and sass because they need some spice because their macaroni and potato salad look dry. So I'm going to put that out next week so y'all can see that, so you can have something fun to watch. I would say episode 1 is a little bit more dismal. Episode 2 is dismal, but I would like to say a little bit witty. Episode 1 is very much, look what they did. Wow, awful. So I'm going to post that. So I'm going to start slowly like releasing them. Not all of them, but most of them. So yes. So yeah, so that will come out next week. Let me go see what these comments are seeing. Hold on. L Summers, a climate in this country makes me want to leave. Every day I question my dad. You left idyllic Jamaica for this. Why? And every day I tell him we could just go back. But then I realized I have student loans. So I'm like, what would I pay them off? Catch me in St. Thomas Parish. Catch me in St. Thomas Parish. To Robert's point, they really want to keep the right to oppress people. That's what that case is about. When that case first happened, the Kyle Rittenhouse case, I was like, wow, I can't believe this. This man is going to jail. 18 years old. If you're 16 and you're black, you're grown. So if you're 18 and you're white, you can be grown too. This man is going to jail. That's what I thought when I first saw it. And then I start to realize that, wait, they're not going to throw away the young white man's life for 2 young dead white men. Wow. And to your point, Robert, they really want to keep the right to oppress people. To read it again, it is their preconceived right to do these things that they're protecting in that case, which is why I think he gets, mind you, the jury for a whole day deliberated, couldn't come to a verdict. I think he walks scot-free, which is wild, inappropriate. He should not. But I think that's what's going to happen, which is going to be crazy, which is setting a precedent for other people that think like him, like, right. So I can go out and defend a property that's not mine because he crossed state lines. He doesn't even live there. There are multiple things wrong in this story to do that. So yeah, ridiculous. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate y'all understanding. I would understand if you didn't want to film those topics. They are heavy. Yeah, they're heavy, and there's no like good outcome to them, those topics. Where at least with like colonizer exposed, the outcome is like, okay, let's correct the history. Because I've done like one thing law school taught me immense amount of good research. So like the research is there. With colonizer exposed, I have usually like 10 to 15 sources between academic papers, articles, some YouTube videos, some mixed media. You can see everything. So at least it's a correction of history. Like, okay, as we talked about when we talked about CRT, America don't teach anybody anything in American curriculum. American school system is jack crap. It's nonsense. So at least with that, colonizer exposed is helpful. It's like, okay, look, let's fix this conversation. When talking about like racists killing people, it's not a happy outcome because they usually get away with it, which is sad. No, I had to say it. Listen, season with spice. Listen, I went to an unseasoned Thanksgiving once. I was very sad. I was sad. You can't just pop up at anybody's Thanksgiving. You can't do it. I will never do it again. Mm-mm. It was my dad's cousin's wife. She cooked. I'm just gonna say this. This is, you know what? She was from Oklahoma. She was from a random state. Lovely lady, but from a random state. Obviously not Caribbean, not Black. She cooked the turkey in a crock pot. They don't watch my channel, so I'm gonna say it. For years, I've been holding this in. This is probably, if I'm 30, was I in college yet? No, I think it was in high school. We did this one year. My dad was like, oh, all of my whole family was like, we're not gonna cook. Even my grandma was like, we're not gonna cook. So and so said she's gonna cook. And I was like, are we sure about this? Child, a crock pot, cook the turkey. And I've never seen a turkey so dry and so rubbery in my life. Have you ever seen a table full of Jamaican people just eating salad, staring at each other? Yeah, I never let that go. How did it fit? But I had a lot of questions. The salad was great. The salad was so good. I give it to her. So then after that, because of course, Jamaican people, first of all, I've said this before, we're very crass, we're very direct, and we can be very rude. Sandals commercial is fooling people into thinking that Yardies are nice people. We are friendly, but sometimes we just are. And I remember having to sit there and be like, don't say anything to her and don't say anything to the cousin. Like, we're in their house. That's not nice. So we all just sat there in silence for 2 hours, just eating salad. They tried to make, they tried to, they tried to make, jerk snapper. Even that was burnt. I was like, how? You just put it in the foil and put it on. And how did it fit? I guess she cut it up. I don't know. I was like 17, so I just peered over and was like, what is that? She's like, it's a turkey. I ought to remind them of that. And that, I will give it to her. That giant hunger fest led to the next year I got to do Thanksgiving. So that everybody came over and I made the whole thing. I'm also like a very good cook, by the way. And I made the whole thing and then it was great. I was like, told y'all. So yeah, I use that as the baseline to, well, it can't be worse than the crock pot turkey. So like, let me just try. Yeah, I'm not ever going to let that go. That was a lot. Listen, no, that would have been so bad. That would have been so bad if we just got up and left. We couldn't just get up and leave her there, like with all the food. Mm-mm. I tasted the turkey. It was plasticky, which I don't know a turkey could do that. It was a lot. It was a lot happening. It was a lot happening. I was just very confused. You know what? Salt wasn't going to save that. It was the texture. The texture was off. I was like, what is this? I've never seen anybody burn like jerk snapper before in my life. For context, is literally like you put okra, you stuff it with like okra, onions, and you stuff it with like okra, onions, and like some spinach and things and whatever. You put garlic on it, and like jerk seasoning if you're being lazy, and then like a thing of butter, and put it in foil, and then you put it on like the grill. You can't burn it. Like I don't know how long it was sitting there. No, I didn't eat anything. I ate the salad. Blue quartz. I didn't eat anything. Wait, you ate it better than me. No, I ate the salad. I ate the salad. The salad was excellent. It's the best salad I ever had in my life. Top three salads. So after that, she only was allowed to bring salad, and we never ate at their house again. Listen, but everybody got limits in life, and that's all right. That's all right. I don't like how long you have to leave it on there to burn it. Like, listen, listen. Like you should oppress the oppressor by all the reasons. Listen, I don't go over there. I don't go over there for Thanksgiving. I don't know. They usually, well, this is like when I was in Florida. So like they after many years after, they would just come over our house. So I'm assuming now they cook. Like that life that's for somebody else. It's not for me. Listen, the husband did. So this is what happened, if we're being honest. Obviously, the husband is Jamaican, it's my dad's cousin, and the wife is from some middle America state, is a white American lady. I think my family was under the assumption that the husband was cooking because most Jamaican men can cook. Like my dad makes great oxtail. So I think we all assume like, oh, he's gonna cook. Like, yeah, whatever. And like she'll help him. That's not what happened when we walked through the door. He was like, "Oh, so and so cooked," and we all just were like, "Okay, this will be different. Like that's fine, cool." And then yeah, no. Listen. So yeah, that was that. Now, Southern white people cook great. I eat Southern white American food like when I used to live in Louisiana all the time. Great, excellent. Middle America, I'm gonna pray for y'all because that's not right. You should not live like that. Please don't put your turkey in the crock pot. It was a lot. It was a lot. It's been like 10 plus years and it's seared into my mind. It's seared into my mind. Listen. I've been to Guyanese Thanksgiving and they're ruthless with somebody's dish, which is why I just brought the ice for the tea. One last Thanksgiving joke because it's Thanksgiving. Oh yeah, speaking of which, next week we're not gonna have a live because it will be Thanksgiving, but that's what I meant to say. I don't know, child. I'm really awake. But I'll put out Colonizer Exposed USA on Thanksgiving, part 1. So speaking of Caribbean people and Thanksgiving, so my cousin, like most of us are Jamaican, but then like some of our family have married other Caribbean people, and then like actually on my dad's side, my dad is the only one married to Jamaicans, and his siblings have both married Black Americans. So this is so specific. I'm like, are they watching this? No, she's not gonna watch this. It's fine. So I have to think about it because some of my family watches this. So my cousin, my uncle, his wife's Antiguan. Love Antiguan food. Everything is good. But Antiguans make fufu. Is it called fufu? I think so. I can't remember. Love Louisiana. New Orleans is my favorite city in all of America. I think it's called fufu. It's similar to Nigerian pounded yam. It's a similar concept. But I think instead of yam, it's made out of cornmeal, I think. So it's like soft. And I think if the right person makes it, it's good. The person that made it does not cook. So Caribbean, Jamaican Thanksgiving, we have all the things. So we have like the American stuff. We have ham. We have what's it? Turkey. Turkey's an American thing. We have ham, turkey, candy yams, which are not yams. They're sweet potatoes, but that's fine. Yam is a big white thing, but fine, whatever. And then usually salad, and then we have like the Jamaican stuff, like oxtail, curry, shrimp, seasoned rice, and like a bunch of other stuff, whatever. So my cousin's aunt came and she wanted to bring something. So she brought the fufu. So it's cassava. Okay, thank you. I'm like, I don't know what it's made from. Thank you, ACO 420. Now, I think hers was cornmeal though. Just to prove this point, because I remember. So we all looked at, she's like, I brought the fufu. Like, okay, like, I don't know why this is not for Thanksgiving. Fine, whatever. Everybody will try, we'll all try something, and then we'll just look at somebody's face. So to ACO 420's point, It's supposed to be made from cassava. Cassava is similar to actual yam, is a starchy root vegetable. Cornmeal is not that. Cornmeal is a type of flour made out of corn and is semi-sweet. Okay, she made the fufu out of cornmeal and maybe some cassava, but it was definitely cornmeal because I know the color and I know the texture. It was interesting. So Caribbean people, big Caribbean people, one person tried it and we all just stared at them because we looked in the pot and we're like, that don't look right. So we all just looked. I'm like, oh, you're gonna eat this? Nobody else. It was a whole thing of it. Nobody else touched anything. So then when everyone went to leave, everyone did sis try to make festival. No, it was like a pounded yam s type of thing. Because it was festival. I love festival. It was a mess. So when everybody goes to leave, all Black people across the diaspora, we're all the same. You always take a plate of like whatever you like. Well, the fufu just sat there. Everyone's looking at it like, I'm not gonna eat that. Instead of accepting the fact that A, nobody ate this, B, everyone tried to shut their mouth to be kind enough to be like, oh, what is in here? Like, this is incorrect. Everyone just looking at her, like she said, oh, no one's gonna take it home. So we're staring, and here goes my grandma, because gotta love her in her big age. You'll hear Gabriel yelling, he's over here playing his game so loud. Here goes my grandma in her big age. When you get a certain age, you say whatever. She goes, oh, she hasn't been feeling well. She's clearly not herself. She clearly doesn't realize no one likes it. The woman is standing next to her. I have never, and this is when I used to live with them. Well, I used to live with my grandparents in law school. I never ran into my room so fast. I was like, oh, you know what? I see violence. This is none of my business. Went upstairs. So yeah, so I hope all of you have a fufu-free Thanksgiving. Fufu itself, I hear, is very good. After that, I was scarred, and my cousin, who's the Antiguan one, is like, Stephanie, you have to try it again. I'm like, listen, your aunt messed it up the one time. Can't trust any of you anymore. The trust is gone. I'm sure it's great. I'll try it if my aunt if my somebody I know makes it. I'm gonna try it because I like everything. All Caribbean and African food I usually like. Also, to ACL's point, fufu is an acquired taste, so it was odd when folks were using it as a challenge. I don't know. That's like when people try to eat like certain Caribbean things. I'm like, don't eat, like, it's not for everybody. Like, my grandpa eats tripe. I'm like, that's for you. I'm good. I stop at cowfoot. Cowfoot, great. Past that, I'm like, it's not for me, and that's okay. That's not okay. Listen. Oh, I love all these different recipes. East African ugali is made with corn. I think you'll like it. Oh, that sounds good. I love food. So I feel like if made properly, because again, apparently it's supposed to be made with cassava and you put it with cornmeal, it's probably great. It's probably great. But that I can look at something and know that's not right. I don't want it. Fufu is good depending on who makes it. For me, it doesn't have a TS. My homeboy made it with plantain, and I hate plantain. You hate plantains, Namibia? Oh man, I'm gonna have to add you to my prayer list. That's so sad. I like sweet plantains. I don't like see, my grandpa always try every year he tries to get me to eat it. Lakeisha loves tripe. I love cowfoot, but I don't. Tripe is a lot of you love tripe. El Summer loves tripe. I don't. Tripe is like not for me. Tripe is really not for me. Blue quartz, yes, and Caribbean people will look in a pot and look around, you are in trouble. It was literally everyone looked down and said, oh yeah, negative. No, that's I'm not eating that. Festival is the best thing ever. I don't know anybody who doesn't like festival. Festival is great. Festival is like how do you like a, I feel like, what festival reminds me of, which is not like this at all, but I feel like festival is like a Caribbean croissant. I feel like the shape, it's not like a croissant for people that are like not familiar. It's like a dumpling. It's like a sweet dumpling, but it's fried. Oh, to Erica, I don't know what it's called in Antigua, but we have that in my country. I'm Togolese, and that's not fufu. We call that akume. You eat it with okra stew. Oh, nice. I've learned to like okra thanks to living in Louisiana. When I was little, I didn't like it because we put it sometimes in like the fish, and I did not like it. But I like it now. Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate all of you, and I'm happy for this. Oh, Lydia, cowfoot. I can't talk because I used to eat pig lips when I was a kid. Yo, cowfoot is great. My grandpa makes cowfoot with butter beans. It's good. It's very good. I feel like if you like oxtail, you'll probably like it's less meat than oxtail, but it tastes nice. Tastes nice. Nothing beats pigtail. I'm like a big fan of pigtail. Like pigtail is so good. Pigtail and stew peas. That's the fastest way for me to like catch the train to Westchester to my grandpa's house. My grandparents' house. Yes. All right. Oh, yes, this is a good point, New Nubian. Festival is like a sweet fried cornbread. My Jamaican homeboy makes so much food from scratch. Yes. Oh, you have a good friend. Yes. Anybody that makes festival from scratch. That's nice. Cook it as a soup. All right. Into Oculus Prime. I like fried yuca and cow tongue taco when I ate beef. Oh, I've never had cow tongue. I've seen it. It's always interesting too, like, if you live in a neighborhood with a lot of Caribbean people, they usually sell cow tongue in the grocery store. My grandpa eats it, but I never eat it. Listen, if we had to, like you just if we had a potluck, good to see a lot of you have good taste. Yes, I feel like generally speaking, we have like a nice, good Pan-African, good showing of the diaspora here to eat some good food. There will be no crock pot turkey. Oh, every year around this time, I just think about it. I'm like, man, that one Thanksgiving that I refuse to let go. Oh, I have to try that. So everyone's saying to try the cow tongue. I'm gonna try that. I'll try it once. I always see him do it, and I'm just like, hmm. My thing is always the texture. I'm always like looking at the texture or something. Like, am I gonna like this? Like Keisha, the kids at lunch came from my neck when I brought my pig ear soup. Kids at lunch will ruin things for you. I remember I used to bring curry and they used to make up their face, and I used to look at them like, you're eating peanut butter and jelly. Like, your mom doesn't even love you. I used to be like a mean kid sometimes. Whenever they used to say things to me, I was like, what an awful mother you have. Like, peanut butter and jelly? Like, I have curry. Like, I have a meal. Like, your mom didn't even cook. That was something that used to make them shut up. They used to think about it like, but I like my PB&J. I'm like, look raggedy to me. Nobody was going to tear me away from my curry. Nobody. To this day, it's not happening. Lengua to Robert's point. Okay. All right. Well, it's 8:11, my dears. I will let y'all go. I ate my dinner beforehand, so I'm not hungry. But now, I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving next week. That's the fastest way to tell other kids to shut up. That's what I realized. Listen, that's what I realized. Your mom, listen. That and like when your siblings tell you, Dad doesn't even like you. Like, what? Listen. Your ex last story, and then I'm gonna leave because this always makes me laugh. Cow tongue look and taste like roast. My ex tricked me. I thought it was roast. Speaking of exes tricking people, which I think it was funny because my mom actually she doesn't remember, and then my dad is always like, "Oh, that woman there." They have been divorced for many years, 20 years, most of my life. And I always, whenever my dad reminds me of this story, I tell him like, "Shouldn't that have been the sign to you that this is not the one?" Um, they met in high school. They both moved from Jamaica when they were teenagers to Westchester. A lot of Jamaicans are in Mount Vernon specifically. Like Mount Vernon is probably like 70% Jamaican. It's mostly us. And they went on like a date in their like late teens, maybe late teens, early 20s, before they got married, I think. And they went to some Japanese restaurant. I think it was my dad's first time in a Japanese restaurant. And my mom was very familiar. So my dad didn't know what wasabi was. And it was like on his plate. And so my mom was like, "Oh, it's pistachio ice cream." Now, ma'am, she knew good and well it was big old thing of wasabi. So Iribu was like, "All right, just pistachio ice cream." Sir, why would pistachio ice cream be next to your fish or next to any whatever the heck was on your plate? Like nothing else was cold. So he stuffed the whole thing in his mouth. Obviously, his mouth was burning. obviously it was very spicy. Obviously, I almost burned his tongue off. She sat there laughing. So every time he tells this story, I'm like, shouldn't you have just been like, I don't know about this lady here? So yeah, people love to play games with food. I would never do that. Whenever I tell her, she just laughs. Whenever I remind her about it, she just like, oh, and I'm like, see, you have not learned. You have not learned. Still playing jokes. But yes, yeah. And then, so Lakeisha's point, wine pairing suggestions on Thanksgiving. Oh, it depends on what you have. But I would say I always do like white wine with, if you want to like pretend you're having courses, which is what I do so I can eat everything. Exactly, ACO. That was a big sign. I mean, I'm thankful because then I wouldn't be here, but like that was a big sign. Like this lady here, this not the one. The two of you is not a good match. I would say white wine. I like my white wine with like any seafood, any fish. And then I like my red wine with like heavy stuff, like red meat. So what am I drinking? Surprisingly, because y'all know I don't really like red wine, but this is really good. I would say like Snoop's Cali Red pairs pretty good with everything, and it's a good price. So, and plus, like your family will drink it because they'll be like, oh, it's kind of fun, like whatever. This is good. And then my favorite wine that I just drink randomly with everything is Aslina. It's South African wine. It's black owned as well by Nisiki Biela. Her Chardonnay, surprisingly, very good. And I'm saying surprisingly because I don't like Chardonnay. Chardonnay is usually like buttery. It's not buttery at all. It's very good. So I would say that. I would say those are like two good ones for Thanksgiving if y'all want. But yeah, so listen, she's a character, that lady there. I will leave that at that. there's a lot to unpack there. A lot. If you're on my Patreon, you know, because I've said it a few times. I'm just like, yeah, I grew up with my dad. Lots happening on that side over there. But yeah. Yeah, Chardonnay to me tastes like butter. Like, I don't know, like it's like gross. But the Aslina Chardonnay doesn't. It's like very nice. But the other Chardonnays to me, like California Chardonnay specifically, tastes like butter. Like, oh, it's just gross to me. But yes. All right. So to New Nubians point, download the 19 Crimes app. It tells stories about the wines. Oh, cool. Well, the crimes committed by the person on the wine. Oh, well, that's fun too. All right, y'all. We'll let y'all go. Thank you, Lakeisha. I hope all of you have a good night, and I will see you after Thanksgiving. So enjoy your Thanksgiving. Yes, it's an awful holiday, the root of it, obviously. I agree. But enjoy your food since we live in this colonized land. And yeah, I appreciate y'all. And I hope you have a crock pot free Thanksgiving. Cheers to that. I'm just going to slide that in there, you know. I always have mixed feelings about Thanksgiving because I love food, but you know, no one loves colonization. Nobody with good sense. So yeah, I will catch y'all week after next. Have a good night or a good day, depending on where you are. Bye.